when I heard that you had a storage unit, I felt so much relief because I was feeling so much shame about having a storage unit still. So,
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. I think that I felt, because I feel like you are sort of like the guru of grief objects and of like dealing, just thinking about our loved ones' belongings and stuff and like how it integrates with grief. And so I felt exactly the same because I was like, oh, if Charlene still has a storage unit, it's, then it's completely okay because she's the guru and it's not so bad that I still have one too. I think that it's so, I mean, I think it's one of the reasons that I'm like often all for my own grief confessions is that I think when you work in the grief space, like as a grief therapist, I think there's often this idea of, oh, when you're going through your own grief, you must really have it all together because you know about grief, or, you know, this is what you do in your work with other people. And I think it is, so much of it is like, no, what I know just allows me sometimes to give myself, I think, maybe a little more permission for it to be messy and to keep a storage unit for years and not have maybe even as much as, you know, self-judgment as I should about that, but to just be able to go like, yeah, of course this isn't easy. Of course I'm struggling with this. It's not supposed to be easy, and you can know all the things and still struggle with actually figuring out.
we talk so much about like validating grievers' experiences, right? Like you're not crazy. You're it's totally normal to feel like you can't take this step that seems logical.
Yes.
So again, like hearing that, I was like, oh my God, Litsa, like this grief therapist I so admire. She has a storage unit. I don't feel ashamed. And hearing other people in the professional community too, saying like, oh yeah, no, my equivalent is the attic. Right?
Yeah.
There are boxes there that are haunting me. And then, you know, another grief coach saying like, oh yeah, no, my mom's things are in the basement. And every time I walk by them, I kind of shudder.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, I am not alone.
Pressure when time is limited ends up being one of the things that can cause so much strain for families. And, you know, there's that, we're in that place in early grief where our cognitive processing is just, it isn't working the same way it would before. Emotions are so high, it's so overwhelming. And then to have to tackle something like going through belongings in those early weeks and months is, it's so difficult. And I think there can be a guilt. I think I certainly have felt the guilt of having the privilege to be able to delay things, and also recognize that there is value in being able to care for ourselves in that way and say like, okay, I'm lucky and grateful to be able to have this ability, and hopefully I can just to think about how to figure out what the right time is, and think about how and when I can approach, like how and when I can finally approach it in ways that feels manageable.
Yeah. I think, right, when we talk about like, especially early in the process, where it just felt, I felt so raw. I felt so tender. Um, so like my process was my mother died January 2013 and it was so shocking. And I spent at least a year trying to figure out if I could keep her house. Various family members tried to intervene and to buy the house, but it didn't make sense for any. Early on, I had done that math and said, yeah, financial experts would say, sell the house, get rid of the belongings, don't get a storage unit, right? But for me, I did a mental math of if I force myself to clear out my mother's house, even while I'm struggling with the fact that she's gone, I kind of thought the cost in mental health is going to be so high that I'm going to wind up like in an inpatient program, and that's going to cost like $100,000. So
Yeah.
if I do that math, the cost of her mortgage, and then after that, the cost of the storage unit, because there was still so much that I couldn't really deal with, the things that are too painful to deal with in that immediate moment, that I was like, math wise, that made sense to me. It's a bargain to pay her mortgage so I don't wind up losing my mind,
Yeah.
basically.
Taking care of our mental health, of calculating that in, I think that's hard to do. It feels abstract. And I think sometimes in the moment, it feels hard to know what the impact is going to be. But being able to calculate that, and for me, it was very similar. Like, I just knew I was not in a place mentally where I was going to be able to deal with it, and had gone through so much of trying to get the house sold. And there was a lot that went in to, for me, and the history of my mom's house, there was just a lot of emotion there from years of kind of pain in that house. And like, the process of fixing it up to sell was a huge emotional process for me. And I was so drained. And initially, when a lot of stuff went into storage, I thought, as soon as the house is fixed up and sold, then I will immediately go through the storage space. And I was so depleted by the time that I had, fixed up the house to sell. I was just emotionally spent. And I was like, there's no way, if I try to tackle these belongings now, it is going to take everything I have, like, out of me. And I just need to be okay, get okay with leaving this stuff here until it feels manageable, to be able to tackle it and go through it.